Success. Media. Network. 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 Network.
This is your show.
Good day, successors. I'm Antonio Holman, and welcome to the 4 Principles of Success, number 34, where I chat with successful people and entrepreneurs about how they enhance their businesses and lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Today, we're talking to Rabbi Mark Borovitz. Rabbi Mark is located in Los Angeles, California, and with being officially ordained in 2000 at the University of Judaism with a master's in Rabbinic Literature, is a spiritual leader, CEO, and the author of Finding Recovery and Yourself in Torah, a daily spiritual path to wholeness, combining his knowledge of Torah and street smarts to helping recovering addicts find their way in the world. Mark is not your typical rabbi. Before he took to the Torah, he was a mobster, gangster, conman, gambler, thief, and a drunk. It wasn't until he spent time in prison and had a moment of divine intervention that saved his life. Today, Rabbi Mark is the Senior Rabbi at Beit Shoovah in Los Angeles, the House of Return synagogue and rehabilitation facility for addicts of all kinds, as well as an advocate for criminal rehabilitation and acclamation. He has become the driving force for wellness to Hollywood's elite like music industry powerhouse Jimmy Iovine, who refers to Rabbi Mark as a confidant and spiritual guide. Rabbi Mark, are you ready to help our listeners prepare for success?
I sure am.
Excellent. Great. Now, Rabbi Mark, aside from your business world, tell us a little bit more about your personal life.
Well, I'm almost 66 years old, and I'm married to the love of my life, Harriet Rosetto, who's the founder of Beit Shoovah and the clinical director of Beit Shoovah. I have a wonderful daughter, Heather, and a fantastic stepdaughter, Delia, Dr. Delia Kiramonte. I'm a son, I'm a brother, and I love living, and I love people. Not all people. And I have a great love of people. The truth is, I do love all people. I just don't. There's some that I don't like, and some I get frustrated with, and I get bewildered by people. But I live a life of truth and transparency, and I work hard to be just and decent in all of my affairs. I'm kind of demanding in that. I demand the same from other people. I want truth. I get very frustrated when people are trying to con or hide or things like that because I see it as destructive to relationships and destructive to making the world better. So that's my big thing is what can I do to make my corner of the world better and the world itself better? And that's been my philosophy and my driving force for the last 30 years.
I love that philosophy. I love it. I can't get enough of adopting that philosophy for myself because those are the mindsets that actually matter in the world. Yeah, love that. Before this life of helping others, that you lead now, what was your life and worldview back then?
Well, prior to December of 1986, for about 20 years, my prevailing worldview was, how do I get mine? And one of entitlement and one of, It was much more. It was all about me and where's mine. It's not that I didn't help other people. It's not that I didn't try and take care of my family back then, but it was really about how do I get mine. And my life was a life of hiding and obfuscation. It was a life that said, I don't have to tell you the truth. You're here just to serve my needs. And that is a much different life. I mean, I really am living the exact opposite of what I used to live.
being a person who lived a past life of crime for years, what was the moment? What was that moment of revelation that set you on the positive path you're living today?
Well, the moment of revelation really was, it happened when I was arrested the last time, thank God. In 1986, I was on my way to bet a 10-team football parlay in Las Vegas to make enough money to pay off some bad checks I had. And what happened was I got arrested by an officer who had arrested me in 1981, and he had remembered seeing a wanted poster on me from a month before in November, and everything clicked. And at that moment, my response to my first wife was, I called her because I had a bunch of cash on me. I said, come pick up this money. And she said, what bail bondsman do you want me to call? I said, don't call anybody. The man upstairs is trying to tell me something, and I have to sit here until I can figure it out. Antonio, it's over 30 years. I still don't know where those words came from. They were not in my consciousness. So I truly believe that they were divinely inspired. It was an ecstatic experience. And then I called my brother, who's been a rabbi for over 40 years now. And I said, send me a Bible and a prayer book. And I started to study. I'd read something by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, that I have to immerse myself in the text, that it's not enough to read it and tear it apart and look at it with a critical look and all that stuff, or even just nod my head and say, oh, yes, this must be right. But I had to really be engaged in it, and I had to find a way to see myself in the text. And it's been an amazing, exhilarating experience all these years, because I continue to do that. Being able to see myself in all of the different ways that the Bible explains us to ourselves has allowed me to experience life on a level that is absolutely unbelievable, helpful, teaching, engaging, life-affirming, and sustaining. And there's no, I don't know any other way really to explain it, because I've had the privilege and the honor of studying ancient wisdom in order to learn how to live better, and using the stories and the lessons and the ways of living that the Bible teaches us, and apply them to my own life. The Bible is an eternal document. It's a document of eternal wisdom and eternal truth. And I'm, of course, much more familiar with the Old Testament than I am with the New. But in the Old Testament, when you read it, there are no perfect heroes. All of our heroes have clay feet. And what makes somebody a great person, in my estimation or my understanding, is that they can err and return. That it's a constant, if you will, wrestling match of learning how to make mistakes and come back from them. Not get caught up so bad that, oh, I'm just a bad person, and all the other lies that we tell ourselves. So I engage daily in making sure that I'm aware of the different lies that I tell myself. And we all tell ourselves lies. I mean, I'm not saying it pejoratively, but, we do things because we get stuck. And so my life has been about not getting stuck. That's what I have been concentrating on. Getting myself out of stuck places when I find myself there.
So how do you use the teachings of the Torah to help people who are seeking rehabilitation, and try and create their road to great success? And how does it differ from conventional rehab organizations?
Well, one of the things that we do that is different than conventional rehab organizations is that we know that nobody's going to get it all right. So we have an addiction counselor, a therapist, and a spiritual counselor for every person, so that we really help people with their body, mind, and soul. Because for me, addiction is a spiritual malady. And I want you to understand that I use addiction in its broadest form. So while some people would think of just drugs and alcohol, I've seen how we get addicted to a lot of different things: money, power, prestige, sex, drugs, rock and roll. But all these things come to get in our way. So I really define addiction as anything that prevents me from living well. And living a spiritual life is a life that lets me live well and make sure that I don't get stuck in the pathology of always being a drunk, or always being an addict, or always being less than, or all these things. And really allows me to see my own holiness, see that I am a creation of God. I am, as Rabbi Heschel teaches, I am a divine need and a divine reminder. And that repentance and forgiveness is God's most unnoticed miracles. And through that, I can turn harm into salvation. It gives me the ability to change, not just change this moment, but when I go and I do a tshuva, I do an amends with somebody, and I really understand what the impact of my actions were on them, I change their reality. And I re-sew the fabric of a torn relationship, and I'm able to then also change the context of the past. I can't change that the action happened, but I can change the context of it, and I don't have to carry it, and the other person doesn't have to be harmed anymore by it. Because look, anytime we hurt somebody else, we are making them into an object. Because if I see your humanity, Antonio, there's no way I can hurt you. I can disagree with you. I can argue with you. We can agree to disagree, okay? But I can't harm you, because I'll always respect the dignity of your humanity, the dignity of your divinity, the dignity and the absolute infinite value of you as a creation of God and as a human being. And then I don't have to beat you. I don't have to compete with you, but rather I collaborate with you, because together we're going to make the world so much better. You know, when you think about community, it's about communion. In communion, we are able to both speak our viewpoints, what I call our honesty. That means I tell you what I believe. I tell you what I think. I know that it comes with my own biases. I know that there's lies I tell myself. And I know that I don't see the whole picture. But I put that out, you put yours out, and all of a sudden the picture just got bigger. And then both of us can make more informed choices. And we're not hiding, we're connected, and we set a tone and a way of being for ourselves, for for our relationship, and please God, for other people. And in that way, instead of needing to be right, needing to win, needing to beat the other guy down, I'm collaborative. Someone else's success is wonderful. I'm thrilled for someone else's success because they've worked hard. And from someone else's success, I can learn. And the other thing is that I believe, and I know, and as does my wife, that we learn much more from the things that don't work. So I have this philosophy, everything works. Because if it doesn't work out the way I want, I'm going to learn what went, quote unquote, wrong, and I'm going to fail forward. That I'll learn about this and I'll see, okay, so here's where I went off the road. Here's where the idea went off its tracks. Here's where whatever. And then I come back and I rework it. Because ultimately, my whole goal, everything I do points to how to live well. Myself, my community, the people I deal with, and the world. So in that, I have to keep learning. And learning to me is the ultimate gift that God gives us. And I learn through the amends. I learn through the tshuva. I learn through failing forward. I learn through other people's successes. But if I'm in competition with you and if I'm angry with you, I'm not going to learn anything. I may copy, but I won't learn.
Yeah, I love these words. And they're all things that I actually follow and I tell others. And yeah, you're hitting it home right now. You're involved in trying to change the system of employment applications, whereas convicted felons, they must actually out themselves when they're applying for jobs. How are you working to change that usual practice?
Well, we've been working with the City Council. It's called Ban the Box. Is the initiative, which what we're trying to do is not that somebody shouldn't talk about their convictions. Because again, if I don't tell you the truth about me, then I'm going to always be hiding on the job. I don't believe in that. However, we don't want it right up front on the job application, because what happens is an employer sees somebody with a conviction and they throw that out right away. That person is just, forget about it. We don't want to deal with it, nothing. And so again, what all you're doing is looking at a piece of paper. You're not seeing the human being in front of you. And especially today when most job applications and everything are done online, we've lost the humanity. We've lost the ability to see people as human beings, and it's all about the numbers and what can they do, and how do I get ahead, and the data, right? Everything is data. I mean, data is important, but you as a human being is much more important. Because if I just say, oh, he's a podcast host, so that means, he does this and he pontificates and this and that. I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't want anything to do with somebody who's going to pontificate. Then I miss meeting and experiencing Antonio and all of your greatness as a human being. So we're doing the same thing for people who made a mistake. I think it was Jesus who said, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Well, we ain't following that. Whether you're Jewish, which is also a Jewish concept. In fact, in Judaism, when someone has done tshuva, when someone has made amends and done their time, so to speak, you're not even allowed to remind them of what they did wrong. You have to see him as a new person. But no, we keep wanting to pigeonhole people. We keep wanting to make people beat them up because if I can beat you up, I'm great. I mean, it's like the lies with this prosperity gospel stuff that we hear out of Washington. I mean, I've heard it said by people in government that if somebody is sick, it's because of their poor health, poor choices. And so they don't deserve to be subsidized. Well, there may be poor choices. But guess what? Nobody's yelling at these rich kids who have become opioid dependent and abusers, and all of a sudden it's an opioid epidemic because it hit rich people. It hit upper middle class and wealthy white people. But we don't see that black person who gets more time for selling a little bit of a rock than somebody who moves pounds of powder cocaine. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's racist and it's wrong. And if we're going to live in a country that is about freedom and about democracy, if we're going to live in a country and we're going to live lives of faith, of spirit, of wealth, of success, then we have to treat each person as a human being. So I'm very, very involved in it. I'm very excited about the changes that Los Angeles is really leading the country in. And I'm of the utmost belief and hope that everyone is going to follow suit.
Rabbi Mark, you're bringing it. You're really bringing it today. I really appreciate this. What is one of the biggest motivations you help people in recovery focus on to achieve the success they want?
Recovering their passion and discovering their purpose. That's one of our taglines. See, every person matters. That when you put together "You Matter," which is actually on my emails as well. That's my sign off on my email. You matter. And I think it's going to be the name of a book that's coming that I'm in the process of editing with another gentleman. When you see that you matter, when you see that holiness abides in your guts, that you're full of holiness, you're full of spirit, you're full of God, you're a word of God that needs to be spoken and lived in this world, and you get passionate about what you bring to the world, because only you can bring this unique podcast. Nobody else in the world can do it the way you do it, Antonio. So when you're passionate about that, then you discover, wow, I have a real purpose here. And once I know that I matter, once that I find this passion, recover my passion for life, and find this purpose, I'm on a trajectory that relapse, going back out. Not that it's not possible, but the question is, why would I? I mean, I've got, I'm coming up to 29 years of sobriety, and somebody says, well, don't you think you could have a glass of wine now and then? I said, why? These 29 years are infinitely better than the years before them. And so I was speaking to a young man who's got 6 years of sobriety now, and we were talking, and I said, let me ask you something. And he's a young man in his early 20s. I said, are these past 6 years better than the 6 years before that? He said, that's why I don't even think about going out. When a thought comes in my mind, I look at my life, I look at what it was, and I move it forward, because he's got passion and purpose. He knows that he matters to his family. He knows that people depend on him. And so these are the cornerstones. These are the foundational underpinnings of a life of recovery and in living well. Now, there is a difference between sobriety and recovery, in my humble opinion. Just like AA says clean and sober, I use sobriety and recovery. I know people who are sober and who are miserable and who are just like hanging on by a thread. Those are people who still don't understand that they matter, who still haven't really reignited their passion for life and passion for their unique purpose and found it and live it. Recovery is living well where, you know what? Not everything I do is going to be right. Not everything I do is going to work. I'm just in it, and I'm in it to learn, and I'm in it to move it forward. I'm going to move my life forward 1 grain of sand more each day. Some days it'll be a sandbox, but at least 1 grain of sand in all areas of my life, so that I'm never stuck. I never say same shit, different day. To me, that's the worst thing one could say, and the greatest sin, because every day is new and exciting. Every day I get up, what am I going to learn? How am I going to be of service? What's in store for me in life today? And I'm excited, and I'm up early, and I just keep moving it forward.
Now, you were incarcerated, and we touched on it earlier. about how you had your revelation to start aiming towards a positive life. Throughout your journey, though, what do you feel was the time you felt you're most unsuccessful and most unsure about your life? Was it that time, or was it something actually different?
Well, during the time I was a criminal and a no goodnik, as I say, I was pretty despondent. I didn't realize that change was possible. In my sobriety, there have been ups and downs. I've gone through difficult periods at work, and what I do, I mean, I had about a 6-month period of real feeling stuck and like, what am I doing? And so what I did, though, was I kept moving it forward. I kept learning. I kept looking at myself. I kept doing the absolute best I could do. And as I kept learning and kept talking to people and studying with my people, seeing my spiritual guide, I was able to not get pulled down into the funk, not get pulled down into inaction and the morbidity of feeling stuck. And I worked my way out of it by using these principles and realizing that I matter, and I got to move it forward, and you know, I mean, part of it's age, in that I'm almost 66 years old, so I'm looking at, you know, how many more years am I going to do this, go at the pace that I go at? And so those are questions that I keep asking myself and others, and trying to figure out, you know, transitions. They're always difficult. And I'm just, I know that there are times, you know, the better life gets, sometimes the harder it is when you take a dip. So I just keep remembering that dips are part of living too. And I can't, it's not always going to be a high. I mean, I'm always great, because the truth is, given my life, I'm blessed. I'm just blessed. I'm blessed way beyond my deserving. And I know that there's times when there's going to be dips. So it's just kind of learning how to ride the wave. One of the things we do at Beit Shoovah for people is we have this, we have something called surf therapy. We teach people how to surf, and we take them surfing because, number one, the ocean is the probably the quintessential experience of powerlessness. And number two, learning how to ride the wave is really important, and knowing that sometimes the wave knocks you off and you got to get up is even more important. So that's the way I deal with these things. And that's different than before. Before I would just sink lower and lower into not depression, just negativity. So I work very hard to stay away, stay, not get sucked into negativity. It's not that I'm not negative at times. It's not that stuff doesn't happen. It's just I don't get stuck in the power of it, in the grasp of it, and sink like quicksand anymore.
What do you feel was one of the hardest things for you to overcome in your business? And you've since conquered that.
Wow, there's so many things. Well, so I think one of the hardest things has been we had a shakeup about a year and a half ago, where I was CEO and then I wasn't one day, and dealing with employees, etc. And I'm a rounder, I'm a loudmouth, I'm like an in-your-face kind of guy, the truth is, it came back to bite me in the ass. And so when I was no longer necessary, according to people, I think that was the most difficult thing I've had to deal with, and the way I dealt with it was, this was the period of time where I just didn't know. It was a time for me to leave. I had to take a real look at myself. Was I done? Did the organization need me to be gone? And so I have been engaged in. I started to engage myself in a conversation that was, okay, so is it time? And really look at what's the best thing for the organization and what's the best thing for me. And looking at it both ways, it made it possible for me to come to a decision and have a plan on what's next. So that was the other question I was asking myself was, what's next? Am I done? Is it time for me to move on? Do I have another act in me? And all of these things came together, but it came because I could do this because I've done this spiritual work that allows me to be very real and very upfront with myself. I'm unafraid to confront me and to confront truth. So the way I came through it was confronting truth, working with our board, et cetera, et cetera. And the interesting thing, of course, is that what happened was the board decided I wasn't done, and rewarded myself and my wife with a very, very kind and generous, offer and contract. But if I hadn't been able to ask myself the questions, if I hadn't been able to really engage in my own looking at myself, what we call in Hebrew a cheshbon nefesh, an accounting of my own soul, I never would have been able to come to this place. So by being real with myself and by making sure that I was real with everybody, it has allowed me to be able to know what's the next right thing for me to do. And it was painful and exhilarating at the same time.
What was your most challenging client-related situation, and how did you resolve it?
Oh, God. Well, it's ongoing. Okay, let me put it that way. The most challenging client-related situation is always when I see somebody doing something that's absolutely wrong for them, and I have no way to help them stop. So it's always challenging for me, because what I want to do is I want to yell and scream at him and shout at him and say, are you nuts? Only not just say, are you nuts? It's really, are you fucking nuts?
Yeah.
And what's wrong with you? And can't you see what you know? And then, it's always hard with employees. Most of our employees are in recovery, and most of them actually have been through our program, and then getting them to have the passion, going from being an employee and still being part of the community. We have always believed that rules should serve people. People should not serve rules. That is not a popular belief. And the more laws that come in, and I understand where the laws come from, don't get me wrong. I know how many abuses there have been. But the more you concentrate on the laws, the less the more we get out of people. And that for me is the whole thing. If I can't serve people, if I can't see people, if people can't see me as human, then I get very, very crazy about it, because it's like, what's the matter with you? Are you blind? Are you dumb? Haven't you heard the thing I've said? you believe this stuff, why are you going against it? And and all of that. Those are the hardest situations for me, Antonio. It's just one of those, because I'm so passionate about my belief in the human spirit, that it really does. It makes me nuts, because I can't stand to see somebody not see their own humanity and not see the dignity and humanity of someone else. So those are the times that always try my patience and get me into the most difficult situations, because I have to speak to somebody in a way they can hear, and I just want to shake them and say, "What's the matter with you?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. You sound like my own words, actually, and with a lot of friends and people I care about, I go through the same things and I go through the same feelings, because I do. I just wanted to shake them and go, "Can you not see what you're doing to yourself and to the people who actually care about you?" Very frustrating.
Right. So, those are the most difficult situations. And then when we have to ask somebody to leave because they're just not getting with the program. It's so sad to me, because, see, a lot of places will say, "Oh, they're not ready." I don't believe that. I believe anybody that walks into a recovery place is ready. And what they're looking for is somebody to speak to them in a way they can hear. So it always hurts me that we didn't find a way to speak to them in a way they could hear. So those are the things that confound me and bother me and challenge me, and I'm always trying to figure it out. I mean, that's the truth. I am. I'm trying to figure out how to do it better. That's like the name of my game. It's just, how do we do it better?
What do you feel is your one biggest business triumph to date?
Well, the biggest business triumph that we have, there's two of them. Number one, for over 30 years now, we have sustained an organization, a nonprofit that takes everybody who we're a Jewish faith-based residential and outpatient recovery center that is non-sectarian. So we take people of all faiths, and we take people whether they can afford it or not. Most of the people are on scholarship of some kind, full or partial, and we have never turned anyone away because of money. If they don't have money, that's not a reason to say, forget it. Once their insurance is done, we don't then say, okay, you're cured, like a lot of for-profit places do. And so I think that being able to sustain it and raise the money necessary is the number one accomplishment, along with the fact our success rate and how many people just have lives and families have reunited. And we did a research, and what the researchers from the Luskin School of Social Policy at UCLA have determined is that we have relational recovery. Everybody knows that they can walk into my office, Harriet's office, anybody's office. They have a relationship with staff. They have a relationship with senior management. They have a relationship with the members of the temple and community. Everybody knows that they're wanted. And community, that we have built a tremendous community of people that live well and carry the message in their own way and practice the principles, in all of their affairs in life. And people are married and babies and divorced and stayed friends, and all of life happens with us. And the fact that people who at one point were throwaways and were considered the scum of the earth are now considered important, valued members of family and community and society. Those are the two greatest accomplishments.
Now, Rabbi Mark, what do you feel is your one biggest personal triumph today?
Well, I went from a bum and somebody that nobody wanted to talk to or wanted around them to somebody who sought out and written 2 books. And, I speak all over the country. The personal triumph is that I have relationships that are meaningful and loving, that I care about people and people care about me, that I really have done tshuva. I'm what we call a Baal Tshuva, master of repentance, return, and new responses. And that I've been successful in living a life of purpose and passion, a life that matters, and a life that is giving. I mean, my wife and I give away over 10% of our income because we believe not just speak the words of helping and not just work at helping, but also we put our money where our mouth is and behind our actions. So I was always blessed, and I just never realized it. So the last 30 years, I've learned to realize it, appreciate it, and love it.
Hang tight, successors. We'll return to our conversation with Rabbi Mark Borovitz, as well as quick success after a word from our sponsors. Are you a tense, tired, busy person who works day in and day out, who tends to lack the proper sleep and energy? Using modular supplements, health-related articles, recipes, life hacks, and more, Bellison can help. With quality as high as Bellison, you're buying from a company that cares about the environment and only uses premium vegan supplements. That's Bellison.com. Want to learn how to cook healthy, exercise, and meditate in just 30 minutes a day? Bellison.com. Want to feel healthy, energetic, and focused like me? Bellison.com. To receive a 10% discount at checkout, visit Bellison.com with the coupon code THE4POS. Visit Bellison.com now. That's BELISAN.com. Compassion and quality without compromise. Bellison.com. And we're back with Rabbi Mark Borovitz. Now we get into the part of the show I like to call Quick Success, where you, Rabbi Mark, can inspire the successors to enhance their lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Rabbi Mark, what are you currently doing to enhance your knowledge?
I continue to read. The person I read the most is Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, because he tells me about life. His books, Moral Grandeur and Spiritual Audacity, God in Search of Man, the Insecurity of Freedom. He teaches us how to live well, how to live in connection, in connected to God, connected to each other. His daughter, Dr. Susanna Heschel, is a personal friend of mine, and her books are just fantastic. So I continue to live in what Rabbi Heschel describes as radical amazement, the maladjustment to societal notions and cliches. I'm maladjusted to it. And so I do that, and I do, and I continue to grow. I continue to read the Bible every day. I continue to pray every day. I continue to engage with people in conversations and continue to learn about so many different things and areas. We have a lot of people who are interested in music, so I've learned a lot more about music. And I just keep learning, because as long as I'm learning, I'm living.
Yeah, for sure. What are you currently doing to enhance your health?
Well, that's not so good. I am now, again, beginning another food program. I think I'm going to go back to either OA or Weight Watchers. And I'm getting back into exercising, and I've cut down on my smoking. It's not, I'm a work in progress with health. I don't do it well enough, actually.
What are you currently doing to enhance your wealth?
Well, I have a great financial advisor and broker, and I give away about 10% of what we make, and I'm saving 10% of what I make. So by doing that, I'm constantly doing that, and I put the maximum away in my retirement account, and my company matches as a match program. So I'm constantly making sure that I have something saved.
What are you currently doing to enhance your spirituality?
Well, again, that's my study, my prayer, I meet with my own spiritual guide, Rabbi Edward Feinstein. We've been meeting for almost 25 years now, weekly, except when one of us is out of town. So I'm constantly delving into knowing my soul better and growing my intuition and listening to it better. And I work with him. I work with God, and I'm constantly looking to develop a greater understanding of what God wants me to do, and the power and the courage, the inner courage to follow it through. I work on my own inner life to make sure all my parts are talking to each other, and I'm not hiding from any part of me from me.
When it comes to success, what do you feel is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received?
My father, you should rest in peace. My father's dead 51 and a half years. He said, you don't have to be a millionaire. You just have to have a good enough name that if you ever needed $1 million, people would want to help you. That success is measured not in how much I have, but how good a name I have. Am I trustworthy? Can I be counted on, etc.? And that really has been the focus of my success and the secret of my success in these last 30 years is I've created a good name for myself.
Are there any modern technologies that you use to achieve success?
Well, sure. Email and Facebook, and I'm doing more on Twitter now. And I haven't gotten into Instagram. The kids haven't taught me Instagram yet. But I use all the technology. And I think the technology is really good. And I have become, unfortunately, I get hooked on it easily. So I have to keep making sure that I spend enough time on it that it enhances success, and not so much time on it that it takes me away from people.
What new thing, book, activity, technology, or skill are you really excited to learn and dive into?
Wow. Bridge. I'm learning how to play bridge. And I'm really excited about it because it uses all of my mental faculties, and it's a partnership game, and it's not a game of I'm meeting new people, interesting people that I would never meet, in the normal course of my life. So I'm really excited about it because it's a really logical game, and it's also intuitive. My wife and I are doing it together and having a wonderful time. And I'm excited because it's also very good for one's brain. My mother-in-law, who died at 103 and a half, almost 2 years ago, she played bridge and was a life master bridge player. And she attributes the fact that she still had all of her faculties at 103 and a half to the fact that she played bridge. And science says that it certainly slows down any dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. So I'm really excited about it.
Man, 103, that is incredible.
Isn't it?
I love hearing that. Wow. As far as helping our listeners achieve success in whatever it is that they're doing, what piece of advice can you give them?
Be passionate about your life. Live your life. Don't live somebody else's expectation or script for your life. Live your own script. Be authentic, be transparent, be passionate, be excited, be interested, be curious, and be disruptive. Be maladjusted to notions and cliches because they will stop you. They're meant to keep us down. The maladjustment to it says, I can break through to all the limits and I can be all that I am. And I can only do it when I'm really engaged and 100% in my life.
Powerful. Very powerful. Successors Rabbi Mark has a special offer for you. Rabbi Mark, tell them about that.
Well, in my new book, Finding Recovery in Yourself in Torah, I made coins that say you matter. And I give them out to people because I want people to know how much they matter in this world and how important they are. So anyone who emails me at rabbimark@rabbimark.com, I will send you a coin, and if you tell me what you're dealing with or what your thought is, I'll send you a little note based on my experience and my experience and my wisdom and my strength. So it's my honor to have been with you, Antonio. You ask really great questions, and I'm really excited. I'm excited about this podcast, your podcast, and I'm grateful.
Yes, I'm very grateful for this too as well. Successors, you heard that? Rabbi Mark's You Matter coin. You can get it at rabbimark@rabbimark.com. Rabbi Mark, how can our listeners connect with you?
Rabbi Mark at rabbimark.com. They can connect with me. They can connect with me on Facebook at Rabbi Mark, on Twitter at Rabbi_Mark, and and by the email. And I'd be more than happy to engage with anybody. It'd be my honor.
Finally, Rabbi Mark, what's your definition of success?
My definition of success is going to bed every night excited to wake up in the morning.
Successors, you heard that. I hope you really enjoyed it. This was a conversation with Rabbi Mark Borovitz. Please check out more successful free content like this at the4pos.com, as well as rate and review wherever you find your podcasts. Thanks for listening and prepare for success. Thanks, Rabbi Mark.
Thank you, Antonio. This was great.
If you want to be more driven and more motivated in your life or business, go to the4pos.com/free book and grab a copy of my book, Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within. 25 motivations of personal development and life success. Get it now at the4pos.com/free book. Again, that's the4pos.com/free book.